It's a little bit different today. I'm not visiting a calf. I'm back down the allotment, the windmill allotment in Nottingham. I'm going to find out all about what a BioBlitz is, and maybe something about bees, but not as you know it. Joan, bee hotels.
Yes.
What's that all about?
Well, we know that bees, solitary bees, will live in some holes, and this is part of a scientific experiment from the University of Sussex through the Buzz Club, which is a citizen science club that is nationwide and coordinated by Dr. Linda Birkin, who works at this community garden.
Yeah.
But she also works 2 days a week for the University of Sussex, supervising and undertaking citizen science projects that are carried out nationwide. And this is one of those. So what they're looking at here is, does the size of the hole determine what sort of bee will go into that hole? So are bees very particular about the size of the hole, or do they flex around between the holes? Obviously, if you've got a large bee, it's going to need a larger hole, but some of the medium ones, do they go everywhere or not?
Why do you want to know that?
Well, you want to know that so you can produce the best sort of bee hotels. There are a lot of bee hotels out there on the market that are not really, honestly, suitable for bees to live in.
Right.
The holes may be too big, they've got holes at the back as well as at the front, they move, so there's lots of things. So this is a very simple bee hotel that's being created by Linda and the Buzz Club, that people can make themselves and join in with the project.
Yeah, we've got a bit of 2x4
so
timber.
we've just got some roofing timber there that's been lying around for a long time, so any pesticides disappeared.
Yeah.
And then these have been drilled 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 millimetres.
Yeah.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, yeah. And these have been randomly assigned to all of these, which means that the holes don't appear in the same way on all of the of the bee hotels. So they are in groups of 5, and there are 4 groups of 5 in each bee hotel.
And what would, if I was a bee, why would I want to suddenly fly into
a bee hotel?
A hole in a block of wood?
The reason that
would attract a bee?
That's the sort of, a hole is the sort of place that the solitary bees like, and the bee, before she lays her eggs, she goes and lays an egg at the bottom bit and then caps that off with, if it's a leaf cutter bee, it'll be leaves, but it'll be other sticky substances. If you want more details off that, you need to ask Linda. And then she'll lay the next one in and then cap that off, and lay the next one and cap that off, like that. So you've got stacked little bedrooms for these bees to develop in, and when she gets to the top, she will cap it off completely, so you'll see there's a covering on there. Now the sort of covering it is gives you a clue as to what bee may be inside. So if it's got leaves, then it's a leaf cutter bee.
You say what bee? I'm assuming.
Well, there are different sorts of bees.
Several types.
There are several types. But they are the solitary bees. We're not talking about honeybees here or bumblebees at all. I've
learned something new there. I didn't know.
So
I only knew of bumblebees and honeybees.
Solitary bees are really important in the ecosystem, and in gardens they do a lot of pollinating, and there has been a lot of habitat that they are losing, so this helps to put a bit more habitat back. It doesn't mean that they're going to use it in your garden. You might see a load of them in your garden, but they may well have found a hole under an overhanging flagstone or something like that. They think, oh, this is the Ritz and this is just, Travel Lodge.
Right.
So, so the idea is with this is that
I think I'm more Travel Lodge than the Ritz.
Well, there you go. So there's a little hat to stop it getting wet.
Okay.
and it'll, because the hat goes over the back, it'll tilt it away. So if we look at this here, if you put it on there, it'll be
oh, right,
it would
okay.
be like that. So it's tilted,
Yeah.
so any rain will run away
Yeah.
and shouldn't end up getting
Yeah, so you've got
that
natural,
way in. It's got some protection.
a natural sort of
Yeah.
pent roof on it,
So
or an inclined roof. Yeah.
yeah, each bee hotel you need to keep a note of which thickness of holes you have, and we've got charts for the ones that we're supervising, but if it was in your own home you need to keep a note of which way round
Yeah.
they all are. And then at the beginning you take a photograph, and then you take a photograph at least once a month and send that in to the Buzz Club. Obviously you need to register with the Buzz Club if
Yeah.
you're taking part of it. If we want to move to one on the
Yeah,
wall
well,
now,
what are these numbers?
Well,
What are
this
they
is-
referencing? Is that just for your recording
this
purposes?
is for the recording purposes. So in this garden today we've been putting out, I think we've started off about 60 something possibly.
Yeah, but
There's 4 groups in each one,
There,
so
so
that
you
is
can-
group 89 to 92.
Yeah, so you can log data
It's
and
so I
map
can
it.
log the data
Yeah.
and know which ones they are. And the
Okay.
more marks we can put on to tell us what's what, the less chance we've got of forgetting it as the time goes on.
So Joan, this is a bee hotel that you've already installed,
Yes.
and what's going to be happening
What's
here?
happening here? Well, we've put a bracket at the top and we've held it on tight at the top with
Yeah.
the bracket, which gets you the tilt.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it'll tilt back nicely, but you've got to stop it from moving. So on this one, there's gone 2 screws in either side, so
Okay.
it can't move.
Stop it wobbling
Yeah.
about. Yeah.
Yeah, when you see on programmes that they put a bee hotel in a tree and it can blow in the wind, you're not going to get any bees living in
No.
that bee hotel because they don't like it moving.
No.
So that's it, that's anchored, and then this is to tell people what it's all about, and if you follow the code there, that'll take you to the relevant place on the Buzz Club website.
QR code.
Yes. And on the back of this has got all the numbering for this as well, and we've also got all the numbering from this back in Linda's office, so we know what's what and what is where.
So how long have you been? You're not a beekeeper, are you?
No, I'm not a beekeeper at all.
A bee explorer.
No, I'm not a bee explorer. I have got my original degree was in zoology,
Oh right.
and then I branched out. My PhD was in biomedical type things, and I
Okay.
went down that route.
Right.
Linda did her degree in zoology, and then her PhD was in ecology and
Yeah.
looking at ecosystems and pollinators and focusing on citizen science methods, which is getting a whole group of people in their own environment to do an experiment that you can't really do in a laboratory. You need somebody out there helping you to do it. That's what citizen science is all about.
So I'm putting up some solitary bee hotels, bee houses, as part of a project I'm doing with the University of Sussex, the Buzz Club. Check us out. I would not advise doing this to a living tree, but standing deadwoods, fair game. The idea behind it is there's a lot of advice out there how to make a bee hotel, which is basically just tubes that solitary bees that don't make a big hive or anything. It's just one female bee on her own. She goes in the hole, she'll make a little cell, pack it with pollen, lay an egg on it, close it off, all the way down the tube like a tube of Pringles, except bees. So you can make things with holes in. You can do it with bamboo bits, you could do it with plant bits, or you can, as we're doing here, drill holes in bits of wood. The advised size for this tends to be about 8mm, which we know is good for red mason bees, but there are lots of other solitary bees as well, and some solitary wasps. So we're doing a project where we're looking at different hole sizes, 6 through 10, to see whether or not we attract different sorts of bees. So we just need to be up in a lot of places for people to take a photo of them once a month, so we can work out what's using them or not.
Here's a question from a bee Luddite. Do wasps and bees, do they sort of mix together? Would you find them in the same stack?
For
you like.
solitary wasps and bees, you might find solitary wasps, because solitary wasps also is just, it's a female on her own packing things into a cell. Now bees are vegetarians, they use pollen as their protein source, that's what they feed their babies on. Wasps are carnivores, so if they are packing a cell, it tends to be with things like paralysed caterpillars, paralysed spiders, or they might be trying to get in and parasitise the bees. But they can use the same sort of structures. There are some that also nest in tubes, there are some that nest in the ground. For your social bees and wasps, ne'er between the meet, they don't like each other. The wasps will raid the bees will fight back against the wasps. They're very similar, it's just like, you know, wasps are the predatory version and bees are the herbivores.
And finally, this BioBlitz that's taking place today and probably several times this year.
Yeah.
When you're actually recording these insects, how do you know you've not recorded the same insect twice within, say, half an hour?
Good question. To be honest, with insects, it's because they are very small and you're probably not seeing the same one. It can be a bit, depends what the type of insect group you're recording. If you're collecting them in a pot, then you will know that you have not recorded it because it's in a pot over there. If it's something that's just like a very small thing, or something that's just going about living its life, like shield bugs or beetles or those kind of things, it is unlikely that many people are going to find the same one. When you are recording things like dragonflies or butterflies, or these bigger insects where you probably do have a set number of them in an area, the best thing to do for that, if you're doing a BioBlitz, is to basically kind of do a count like at the top of the hour for 5 minutes of how many are here now, and then leave it for a bit and then do it again. So you will get some double counting, but it reduces the amount of it.
Yeah.
And also, if you counted like 100 cabbage whites, you'd know if there were 100 cabbage whites on the site. That's a bit silly. Or like if you're doing a group thing, you can have one person who is in charge of counting the butterflies or the dragonflies, so they'll have a rough idea of how many were actually there.
And you mentioned the university earlier on.
It's
sort of
University of
socials
Sussex.
or anything
Yes, so we're the Buzz Club on most things.
The Buzz Club, that was it.
We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we have our own website, just thebuzzclub.uk.
Yeah.
If you end up on a tattoo parlour in Leeds, that's the wrong Buzz Club. But yeah, we've on most things we are the Buzz Club. We're a citizen science charity club thing. We set up basically little experiments that people can do in their gardens, which is looking into the science of wildlife gardening. So does this intervention work? Does this thing actually do what it says it does? So we absolutely accept suggestions and we're always looking to hear from people who might be interested in getting involved, and we're increasingly doing other things as well. We've got a bunch of webinars coming up this year, we've got a seminar series coming up this year. Check us out.
Fantastic.